on. Command has been given. Crank him up.
Let's go. When I say I don't know, I don't know.
Let's go, baby.
Now, the morning drive.
Buckle up, everybody.
A little bit of this and a little bit of that.
It's a game changer.
I listen to you guys every single day on my way to work.
Well, again, I'm not a doctor, nor do I play one on the radio.
You guys are amazing.
What are you doing over there?
I'm going to the top.
The morning drive with Mike Bagley and Pete Pistone.
To the bat balls.
Sirius XM NASCAR Radio Channel 90 live and on the air for this Thursday, April 6th, 2023. Mike Bagley here in Del Marvelous, Studio 1D. We've got Pistol Pete Pistone in the Paisan Palace in Chicago. We've got Sammy and Davey in Studio 134 of the Beltway Bureau in our nation's capital. We welcome each and every one of you to this Thursday morning, and happy Friday Eve to you, Triple P.
Good morning, Bagman. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday Eve to one and all on the doorstep of racing at Bristol, Easter weekend. And a lot going on in the world of NASCAR, which we'll obviously get to here. How are things there on the? And you're flying down to Charlotte today, so your wheels up. What, later this afternoon?
Hopefully.
Why?
Hopefully.
What's going on?
All that stuff that's been pushing through you. Well, it's got to get here at some point. Well, it's getting here this afternoon, but we don't know when. We just got the new models. And it looks like we'll be able to get out on wheels up at 3:35. I think it is today.
Yeah.
I know I board at 3. So we've got to get out to that runway and evacuate the dance floor before this stuff rolls through. And I'll tell you what, it's supposed to be so bad here today that yesterday they they postponed the season opener for the Phillies. So they'll go at 3:05 tomorrow. They're not even having people come down to the sports complex. So when Major League Baseball does something like that, they just don't do that for showers. So we're going to get a little inclement weather. Just hoping to get out of here before it rolls through. Fingers are crossed, and we're going to have to fly through it at some point. So pull those belts tight, as Larry McReynolds would say. Make sure you're cinched in pretty hard there, because it's going to be a bumpy run down to Charlotte later today.
Well, we're thinking of you. It was rough here again yesterday. They were pretty significant. No tornadoes or anything like that, like we had Friday night, but it was pretty stormy. It started when I was doing this show. I was recording some other stuff, and by about 3 o'clock, it finally pushed through. So fingers are crossed, and we're all buttoned up here. So I'll be taking tomorrow and Monday off, as I usually do around Easter, and appreciate tomorrow. You'll be there at MRN with Kelly Crandall, and then Monday, Shannon Spake will be in for me. And, I've always taken Friday and Monday around Easter off, just kind of a tradition. In the last few years now, it's been around a race weekend since they added this race at Bristol. But looking forward to that. A little dinners Saturday and Sunday. Went and got the lamb butter yesterday. Took care of that.
I was going to ask you, what was the lamb butter situation?
Very critical. I had to go pick up some of the food earlier in the week, and then I had another run to do yesterday, and I was able to find the butter in the shape of a lamb. If you're new to our conversation here, it's not actually butter that comes from a lamb. It's in the shape of a lamb. Pretty pricey, boys. I got to be honest with you. $4.19. $4.19. Don't think that's expensive for butter? Yeah, for butter.
Butter.
Yeah, butter. So anyway, butter. So I did that, and off to the races. Still going to be doing a few odds and ends, but for the most part, going to enjoy a few days off. So I look forward to that, and I know you're going to be right down in the thick of it, if you will, in Bristol.
Indeed,
in the dirt.
I fly to Charlotte today, and then I'll be in Charlotte tomorrow and Friday, and then Saturday morning we'll get up and we'll drive over across the mountain, and we'll go to Bristol. We'll do the truck race Saturday night. Get up Sunday morning, come back to Charlotte. Then I'll be in Charlotte all next week there at MRN. Mm-hmm. I know that you had a lot going on. I had a lot going on. Davey had a lot going on yesterday. It was a Seder and the start of Passover at sundown. How'd that go? How'd that treat you, Davey?
It went well. No butter here. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. We had butter on our matzah, just no bread. But it was good. It was good. The Seder was a little bit busier than usual because mid-Seder, my dad is kind of leading the charge there with our family, and my phone starts buzzing on Twitter. Our little group chat starts blowing up.
I was wondering why he wasn't responding. And I was like, if anyone would be responding, it would be Davey here.
Well,
like,
I was seeing
on?
all of it because my watch was going crazy, my phone was going crazy, my grandma was like, what you got going on? And I was like, well, actually, something's happening.
Is that what you said?
Well, she was like, what's happening? I was like, something big is actually happening. And I was like, just keep going, Dad. I'm just going to be on my phone for like 2 minutes. He's like, no, we'll wait. I go, no, please please don't wait. So I just got the verdict of the penalty, looked on my phone, put it down, and kept digging hammer down. Had a wonderful Passover dinner, but it was interrupted because of the Kaulig appeal verdict was finalized, which I'm sure will be a topic of conversation today.
Well, I might as well have been at a Seder because when I got this news, I said, oy vey. It's like,
Who you telling? You're welcome at our table anytime, Petey.
I'd be happy to stop by. In case you missed it, the National Motorsports Appeals panel basically kept all the penalties for Kaulig Racing and Justin Haley for modifying the hood louver after the Phoenix story, 3-4 weeks ago. They were originally docked 100 points, and yesterday the appeals panel amended that penalty to 75 points, but they kept the loss of 10 playoff points, the $100,000 fine to Trent Owens, and the 4-race suspension to Trent Owens. Stark contrast to what we had last week for Hendrick Motorsports for what we think is the exact same penalty and punishment for modifying the louvers. And as we know, Hendrick Motorsports got back their 100 points and their 10 playoff points, but they kept the fine and the suspension. I don't know what's more unclear than mud, but whatever it is, that's what we got here, Bagman. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Well, I can guarantee you there wasn't a lot of smiling come out of Chris Rice yesterday. You'll hear from Chris Rice here in a few moments, and he will actually join us at 9:15 this morning. But I have no idea what that was. I don't know. It all depends on how you're looking at the situation, but just from the initial blush and seeing from some of the reaction, I think that the reaction we got yesterday for Kaulig is the reaction that people were looking for Hendrick the week prior. The point staying. Now, there was obviously a 25-point rebate for Kaulig in this situation, but Hendrick got all their points back. So I'm sure Kaulig is scratching their heads like, what in the world is that? Because that's what I'm doing. Because you either keep the points if the situation is the same. And we're going to go into this a little more. I need more context. I need to know why, right? Why they got theirs back over on Hendrick, but they didn't get theirs back over on Kaulig. We were led to believe this was the exact same situation. Well, if it was different, number one, what was different about it? And number two, why did they rule the way they ruled? I think we can make this process better because there's one key important part that's missing that will lead us to transparency on this, and that is the context of the appellate panel. Mm-hmm. That why did we do what we did? It would be nice to know that just so we can understand why there are differences when we were told that they were the same going in.
And that is the problem.
Or led to believe through one whatever that they were the same going in.
And that is the problem with this. Just like last week, we can pontificate all we want. We don't know a lot what we need to be able to know to comment on this. There is no context at all to any of this. It's done in a vacuum. And that's a problem. It just is. And how the same penalty really and truly can be viewed differently by two different appeals panels is just baffling to me. It's baffling to me. And I have no fix. I have no idea how to fix this system. I will still say, like I did last week, I support the system. I think teams should have an opportunity to appeal a penalty. I think that's fine. But I think if you're going to go down this path, the people need to know more about what was heard, what was said, and who said it, and all those kinds of things. And, I also wonder when I, look at the appeals panel. I mean, is there a better group of people to get together? I don't know. I'm not disparaging anybody. But the point is, there's 19 people now? I think they bumped it down. It was 25, went to 19. I think they added somebody. So it's around 20. And there's someone that goes out there that puts the panels together when they're needed. A lot of it, as it was explained to us last week, is based on availability, right? So you have that to put into play. And the three people that heard it yesterday heard whatever they did to come to the arrival of the decision that 25 points really and truly was all they were going to shave off the penalty that, in theory, were the exact same ones that got all the points back last week for Hendrick Motorsports.
So, like you, we have more questions than we have answers. And we need the context. So Chris Rice, the president of Kaulig Racing, joined Race Hub last night and provided some reaction and his initial reaction to the appeals panel's decision yesterday.
it's disheartening, from Colleague Racing, everybody, Matt Colleague, myself. You know what goes on in the garage, and know what happens, and single source suppliers and knowing rules and different things is really tough nowadays. And I'm not gonna lie, I sit here and I stand behind my guys. I stand behind everybody at Colleague Racing that we upheld the rules and we did what we know is legal. So it's been a tough hour or two. I'm not gonna be lied to you, but we'll get through this.
We, of course, have been comparing this response from the appeal panel to the response that they had for Hendrick Motorsports. Chris was asked if he's been in contact with Hendrick Motorsports.
Yes, I did. I talked to Jeff Gordon. I talked to Chad Canals. I had multiple conversations with those guys. What's funny is we loaned those guys louvers at Phoenix when their louvers got taken off our backup cars from Las Vegas. So, we have a relationship with Hendricks just like we do everybody else in the garage. If you remember, we helped out a Toyota team at Phoenix last year. So, and I do know their case. I wasn't sitting in the room with them, so I can't speak that in depth about it.
And of course, Chris responds with the effect that this decision has.
It affects us pretty big. Everybody talks about the points and all of that, but I mean, it's all three things, right? Like, we want to make sure that nobody fools with parts. I get it. I understand that as a president, as somebody running a race team, but I also was a crew chief back in the day. Losing Trent Owens for 4 weeks is pretty tough to us. We're not that deep. We have 3 Xfinity cars that I think at any point in time we could use those guys, but they have jobs to do also. But we're not as deep as, other race teams that's been in business for 20 years or 10 years.
That is Chris Rice, the president of Colleague Racing. Race Hub, where those comments were made, and we appreciate Bob Pockrass tweeting that out and letting us hear Chris's reaction. He will further react with us again 9:15 a.m. Eastern this morning. So, what do you make about what Chris said there, Petey?
Well, I totally understand. You've got to feel like when you went in yesterday after what you saw happen to Hendrick Motorsports last week, you had a pretty good chance of having the same situation and the same outcome. And it was anything but. So now if I'm NASCAR, yesterday I'm like, okay, 25 points shaved off, but for the most part, the spirit of the rule that we enforced when we found what we felt was not right with the louvers, I would say NASCAR's got to feel okay about their rule book being enforced and the appeals panel looking at it that way. A complete 180 from last week when basically the entire rule was thrown out the window for the most part, except for the price tag of the $100,000 to the 4 teams at Hendrick Motorsports, which obviously, as you know, and we had Elton Sawyer with us on Tuesday, did not make the sanctioning body, and I understand it, very happy. So now you put yourself in the middle, those of us that cover the sport, those of you out there who are fans of the sport, to try to make heads or tails out of both these situations in a week's time, and it's as perplexing a story, Mike, as I can think of. I just don't have I have no inclination how to make any rhyme or reason out of the 2 appeals. None.
866 Pit Lane. We will discuss with you right now as we will work our way through this Thursday morning, trying to make some sense of all of this. Headline check number 1 coming up bottom of the hour. Also got Nate Ryan of NBC Sports at 8:30. Also have the calendar for you at 8:50. Mike Kelly, Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s crew chief, will join us at 9. Chris Rice, the president of Colleague Racing, will join us at 9:15. And also Jessica Friesen. This is Stuart Friesen's wife. She's driving in the truck race at Bristol on Saturday, that is. She'll join us at 10:30 a.m. Eastern as she prepares to join her hubby back on the dirt of Bristol Motor Speedway. We'll chat with you at 866 Pit Lane. We'll also take your tweets at SiriusXM NASCAR, hashtag TMD NASCAR. TMD brought to you in part by our friends at Boot Barn. Boot Barn, proud supporters of the West.